Hello.
I have only ever seen, like, one other person with a capybara persona slash username. Are you a are you a capybara as well? It says Capibarito. I'm hoping that's a capybara. Wait, 189 messages. Wait, you've been in my stream before? I don't remember this. What? Hang on. What? Back in April? Back in April! Way back in April! Wait, hang on a sec. I forgot to put my, my what's-a-mahoozy thingy-diggy on. Hang on a second. I am so sorry. All the way back in fucking April, you raided it into me. Yeah, and, like, oh my goodness. What the what? How's it going? Oh my gosh. How long has it been? April of 2023. Oh my goodness. Oh noes. Man, I got some 2020 vision tonight. Oh my goodness. Let me give you a shout out. Hang on a second. That was when your username was still Dark King Shiro. Oh my goodness, that is such a different name to what I was expecting. But hey! Welcome, Capibarito. Barito? Is it pronounced Barito? Because I know... Burrito? Burrito. Hopefully it's burrito. Let me give you a shout out. / shout out the Capi Burrito. Because it looks like you do streams and such like that as well now. Also, head, why am I, like, looking upwards? Oop, there we go. Hopefully that's better. Nope, still not better. Alright, hang on. Hello? Like, why are you not doing the... Oh, Shift R. Let's try Shift R. Hopefully that will work. Anyway, yeah. Hi! Welcome! It's a capybara in a burrito. That's silly. I love it. It's silly and I love it. Good on you on that one. Nice work. Nice, 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 nice. I hope you're doing. I hope you're having a wonderful time. Sorry, I just need to quickly post in like one or two other thingy-madigs, because I always forget to like do something in my Blue Sky, because Blue Sky doesn't allow you to what's-a-mahoozy. It doesn't allow you to like set up scheduled what's-a-mahoozies. It doesn't allow you to do scheduled posts on Blue Sky, which is a shame because like Blue Sky could be good. It's like it's taking its time, which I'm fine with. I don't know how I feel about it becoming like just brand spanking like open to everyone thing. I think it was okay when it was a case of like, oh, you generate invites as time goes on and such, because it was like doing a pretty consistent growth when it was doing that. They probably could have gotten away with it for like a year or something like that because they didn't have everything. They made it available to like every single person before they had DMs done. I feel like if they did it as a year anniversary, they could have done DMs and then opened it up to everyone. So then that way, I don't know. But it is what it is. So, yay! Hello! Hi! Hi, everyone. Happy Monday. Well, it's Monday for me. It might be Sunday for you. So I hope you're having a wonderful Sunday break wherever it is that you are. And I hope everyone is having a wonderful time. Hi there. So yeah, Uranea Zach got in first. Xerix followed up. We got the Capybarito, and we got Wild Saber in here. Here we see the himbo in his natural habitat, surrounded by thirsty himbo lovers after his large cake buns. Yes, I've been cooking in a bakery with these buns. But yeah, last I heard, they're gonna finally add videos to it. That I think is actually gonna be a pretty good one. But here's the thing: is you can schedule emails, you can schedule tweets, you can schedule videos. Like as far as it's social media can get away, like the videos one I think is a lot of extra work, but I think they need to have a think about like sort of business orientated stuff. Like now I know when I say business, some people might be thinking of creating a business account and making money and shit like that, but no, that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is scheduling tweets or scheduling posts and having sort of like being able to do like, you know, message requests, like just have a little bit of control so that you don't have to do things immediately. You don't have to be on the platform all the time to use it. You have opportunities to set yourself up, is all. Sunday here on one of my days off, enjoying the stream. Nice. I don't have to work today, which is a very thankful thing. Hang on a sec, sippies. So, I don't have to work today, which is nice. Work continues on with their fun little engagement of, oh, sometimes you only have to work 4 days a week, which is fantastic. It's time to return to Monkey. It is time to return to Monkey. So, hang on a second. Let me close out my Twitter because there's like all kinds of boobies and things, and that's not important to the stream. This is what's important to the stream. My pecs and the game. So, I have not made any changes whatsoever to the layout. I keep thinking I need to, but every time I want to do a change, like, I'm thinking of a change, like, oh, maybe I should come up with a new layout, so then that way when I do the backgrounds and such, I can do it that way. The only problem is, this chat box that I absolutely adored, having, like, the bubble thingamadiggy to it and everything like that, I can't get into Stream Elements anymore to get to, like, adjust it or anything, which is terrible. So, we're stuck with, like, this wide shot where there isn't that much of a background to it. And what's more is, I want to find a chat widget that engages with the new, like, bit stuff that they've introduced in, like a month or two ago now, where they've introduced the thing of, like, oh, you can do, like, the expanded, what's-a-mahoozy thing. So, for example, the, gigantifying emotes. Like, you can set whatever value you want, but so, if I do a gigantified emote here, it's just, you know, a small emote there. I want to make it big. I want to make it like a big emote. And what's more is I've seen people have like these interesting chat message things where they have like an exclamation point or a question mark on the outside of it. I really need to ask, I really need to ask Z or Queen Pixel Kaiju about how, well, like, where they went for those particular assets, because while I may be tight on funds right now, I'm technically on call. So if someone after out, like, technically speaking, there's New Zealand peeps as well who can be doing this. But if there is someone that can, like, if someone is, like, after the hours of work or something like that needs help, they call a phone number, and that phone number leads to me. I have answered, like, probably 6 or 7 of these phone calls now, so I'm gonna get, like, an extra, hey, no, Jack! That is very fast. But yeah, hi, Jack, welcome to the stream. Hopefully you're doing alright. I bet you're at work right now. Oh yeah, this game might look a bit different because ray tracing is, like, turned on. So there's probably, like, no noticeable difference for peeps here. But yeah. Alright, there's some place I wanted to go. I was exploring earlier. Because off stream I was exploring, and it turns out there was School's hideout. So it turns out there's, like, these locations or something or rather, because there's a thing in my inventory after I defeated, like, this wolf prince trainer or something like that. It's like a drum on my way to work. Lol. Wayward scan. Righto. Thank you. Remember when the Doom Eternal hype was still going? Remember the fan comment that was making waves called Guess What? It's Still Going. Well, here's the thing is, I know there's a slightly new one. Astrobot and Space Marines. I do want to play Astrobot, but... Oh, also, I have music still playing in the background. I kind of need to stop that. There we go. Like, there's a game called Astrobot for the PlayStation 5. It looks fun. It looks like a fun little nostalgia trip lane and showing off all these IPs. But as much as I would love to play it, I'm not exactly enthusiastic of spending, like, $140 to play it. Because that's how much it would cost me to play this game. Yeah, PlayStation games are not cheap in Australia. Drink up, drink up, drink up. There we go. It's the Sackman replacement. It is a Sackman replacement. It's a fun little platformer. And what's more is, we've already seen the Astrobot as, like, this sort of freebie-ish game when the PlayStation 5 first came out. And it was all about, hey, did you like Space Marine 2? Yes. Yes, I did. I love Space Marine 2. I'm going to be playing more of it this week as well. So rather than going through Yakuza on Wednesdays, we're going to be going through Space Marine 2. And then we're going to do it again on Friday, I think. So there's going to be like 2 days of Space Marine. You, I need to take care of you. There we go. There. I also pre-ordered it. You're having a lot of fun. Yeah! I think the thing with it is that unlike most AAA games where they feel like, you know, a little bit limited in the amount of stuff that you can do, like most games I feel like have had, you know, either there's a difficulty curve to make it last longer, or they really rely on you doing the multiplayer. Now, Space Marines 2 does have a multiplayer, but that's not the be-all end of it. And what's more is the multiplayer has all these different progression paths in it, so it's not just a case of, oh, you just have to mindlessly grind through a battle pass. It's like, no, if you do well on a weapon, the weapon improves, and there's unlocks. And then when you master the weapon, there's perks that you can put on the weapon. So you've got that. Then you've got, like, all the armor stuff. So it feels like a Halo Reach kind of progression where by playing... Oh, ow, fuck you. The Space Marine 2 multiplayer just feels like, you know, playing the game progresses the game. It doesn't feel like, you know, an arbitrary system to, like, you know, artificially, like, inflate the amount of content. It's not like a battle pass where it's like, oh, well, I kind of have to wait, like, I have to space out my stuff, and there's more benefit to, you know, playing it, like, you know, only do the dailies or something like that, and then, you know, if there's no quest for you to do, fuck off and wait a day or a week. It doesn't do that, thankfully. At least not yet. So, alright, can't go into here. And I gotta deal with this guy. I'm betting it's a DLC as you can't add Necron stuff, nor do anything. What? You can't add Necron stuff. So there is a DLC. There, like, every AAA game does come out with a, like, not like a battle path. They come out with like a, oh, here's what the games are gonna look like for a year. Like they make it sound like an investor portfolio of like, oh, if you invest in this game, we'll give you a like, invest in this game like for $70 to $100, and we will give you, ow, fuck you. All right, drink this. Thank you. It's like, invest in this game, and a year later on, there's going to be all this extra stuff. Sometimes that does honestly feel like, in the case of Space Marines, it does feel like a, ooh, new stuff is coming along. But then for other games like Concord, it's like, okay, but why not we just release it when you have all that stuff? Like, why are you not confident? So, gosh darn, Concord. Rest in peace. Rest in peace, Firewalk's first and possibly only game, because they got absorbed by the PlayStation Studio. So, the team is, like, filled with all these veterans from, like, Activision or Destiny. And I look at them and it's like, oh, they've existed since, They only existed since, like, 2018, and then in, like, 3 years, no games released, and Sony looks at their, like, tech demo or something like that, and they're like, we love this game, we love your company, give us your studio, and, like, with the limited that game was dead on arrival, it's a... I was talking about it with Unnamed off stream. The characters are dull. They're noisy, in my opinion. Like, there's all this detail, there's all this ridiculous stuff with the people on Concord and such. But there's nothing that links them together within the one universe. And it's all, like, you look at, like, a lot of the articles when people talk about, like, oh, this is what the character does. It's none of it is about the personality or the backstory of the characters, like, when we were going through the articles and what have you. Instead, it was a case of, oh, this person's like Warlock from Destiny, where you fling magic, and then you have, like, you know, some area of denial effects, or, oh, hey, here's a robot that does area of denial effects and some big damage. Oh, here comes an old lady that does all kinds of, like, you know, burst damage. Here's a person that throws knives. Here's a spy-like person where they can turn invisible at the right time. Like, none of them had personality defined to them. And the studio was like, oh, there's going to be more story content out once a week and what have you. They didn't even get through, like, a good beta. They opened up on, like, August 28th. They opened up at the end of August. So they had, like, a weekend, and then a week in September they shut down. Sony is working on refunds and what have you, and the studio is, like, doing something else. I feel like they're going to try and release the game as a free-to-play model, But I feel like the problem you're going to run into there is they're going to have to work, they're going to have to like fix slash improve all their progression systems to be suitable for for like a free to play model and try and do monetization on it, because they spent shit tons of money on it, and to have the $40 price tag, it needed to be a running success if they weren't going to have microtransactions after the $40. Helldivers 2 has the $40 price tag, and it has monetization in it. And even though a lot of the monetization, a lot of us would have been like, oh, it's monetization where you can buy power and what have you, or monetization to make the game easier for you. It's like, a lot of us didn't care because, one, the actual currency of the monetization was cheap for a lot of the people because you had to do the $40 entry anyway. And two, the power increases are cheap anyway. They're not a big thing. They're not like, oh, it changes you from having to work in a team of 3 to you can do this solo. It never did that. It did you from you work in a team of 4 to you work in a team of 4 slightly better. So, good on Helldivers. And here's the thing. We have another 8 live service games from Sony. We have another 8. They put 10 in the oven. They've apparently put 10 live service games in the oven for like the PlayStation. We had Helldivers 2, which you don't need the PSN for and is available on PC. So, quite frankly, it's not like a Sony live service game, I'm going to be real with you. You've had Concord that didn't last a month. It lasted like a week and a bit because everyone looked at it and they were like, it's like X game that's free to play. Like, it was doing the job of like 3 or 4 free to play games. And the fact of the matter is that it's not a social media platform. It's not a fast food joint where you can have like multiple like of the same thing existing. Games as a service asks for your time, and it asks for your, your effort, whether it's monetary or just effort. No one is going to abandon Fortnite at this point. The people who aren't in Fortnite right now aren't going to go into Concord. The people that are in Valorant right now, especially with the amount of time Valorant has gone in right now, aren't going to abandon Valorant for Concord. You're not competing against any of the live services when they started, because quite frankly, a lot of the live services that are starting now are better than the live services that started when they started, but you're going up against 10 years of like investment, and we're adverse to loss. Like, we're not going to give up on Fortnite even if we have mechanical issues with it. You know what we're going to do? We're going to stick with it. We're going to love that there's a 0 build. We're going to buy into it another time when Marvel decides to release another set of skins before they get locked behind a battle pass or they fall away from the store, in which case you can't use them or you can't buy them if you missed out, so FOMO is going off all the time. Concord was not going to be able to best Fortnite. You can't out Fortnite. Yep, cool. What was I doing? Didn't really give it a chance. It's not that Sony didn't really give it a chance, it's that Sony thinks they don't need to do work. Hi there, Star Kuma. Welcome to the stream. Because here's the thing. Like, Sony won the console war for this generation. Nintendo doesn't take part in it because Nintendo is big enough where they don't bother. They've never reported a loss, so they don't have to do... So they're just sort of playing at it as they are. They're like fucking One Piece in the big 3 in today's age. They've existed for so long that having a war with them isn't really a war, it's just another fucking day for them. So the battle is between PlayStation and Xbox. And Xbox did not win at the Xbox 360. They were close, but they didn't. They didn't win on the Xbox One, and they bungled it up even further with the Xbox Series X/S, because many of the games they're releasing on console are also going to release on PC. You know who's going to, buy the consoles? Either people with families, in which case you're fighting against Nintendo, Microsoft, or people that want high-quality exclusive titles, which is the Sony crowd. But here's the problem. If you're releasing your high-quality exclusive IPs also on the PC, you know what's going to happen? people are just gonna make a good PC. Now, right now, not exactly a great time to try and make good PCs, I'll be real with you, it's very costly, but Sony is now getting out of the fight and doing, like, the whole multi-platform publisher, so not a lot of people are confident in going into Xbox for exclusivity.
Dog with the 26-month tier 1 sub. 26 months of Grant.
Thank you so much for the 26 months, Bone. I greatly appreciate it. You don't have to worry about the advertisement that's going to go off in like 34 minutes, and you get to utilize all these cool emotes. You will never out Fortnite. You'll never out Fortnite. Yeah, exactly. Alrighty then. So, when I head over here, there's a thing, another month, and we'll have 3 9-months.
I'm here, little monkey. Let me hear my rattle drum.
Says, oh, here we go, use. So we have this drum. And...
Where is my pa? Did you see him? I was scared. They were all around me. They told me Pa took people from the village and fed them to a blind. That's a lie. It's not my Pa.
Alright, cool. We survived that. So, it doesn't open up a boss. It just has... Oh. So it just has the people waking up. Alright, that's fine. That's not a problem. Thankfully, so there's another spot that does that thingy-majiggy again. Remember Anthem? It died at a month too. Yeah, but here's the thing, is Anthem had... It felt incomplete. I didn't play Anthem, let me tell you. A lot of us looked at BioWare and were like, you're not a multiplayer, publisher, like, what are you doing? So there was a number of people that were not confident in BioWare making the multiplayer game, but we were hopeful, but low expectations of, oh, maybe they'll do the creative design, like, well, they'll make it worth it so that it's not a multiplayer game with no story, but instead is a multiplayer game with a lot of character. There we go. Just collecting my self-will and what have you. So yeah, so... Oh, now I get the math that Bone Mass Dog was talking about. So divisions of 9 months. So it would be the third 9 month. Rightio, that makes sense. So yeah, so I fought a dude here on the bridge, and when he died, he gave us the rattle that I now have. So apparently there's, like, villages we can go to, and there's, like, a little boy that's like, play my rattle! I thought we were going to get a boss fight at that first one, but it looks like we're not, so... Now... Cool, he doesn't turn into an enemy. There we go. So far, so good. I should probably... Let me just stop moving. Hi there. Tonight we dine on the chi of our beaten enemies, for only in suppressing those stronger than ourselves shall we rise to the court and backbend that prissy brown-nosed errand boy, Erlang Shen. I have no clue who Erlang Shen is, but nice. Ow, ow. Hi there, Kusaki. Live on a Monday morning? Yes, live on a Monday morning, because I don't have to work this Monday, which is great. Also, hi there, unnamed. Welcome to the stream. Do you know a Nazir? Oh! A Nazir, the complaint to the, you know, the shitty copper salesman. Is that who you're talking about? I'm pretty sure that's a Nazir. That's the shitty copper salesman. Also, hi there, everyone. Welcome to the stream. Sorry, I just been on, like, a little bit of a rant alert earlier about, you know, just Concord and such like that. Oh, unnamed. Remember the whatsamahoozy thing we made yesterday? All the Concord characters? Concord, blurred. He's an ancient Chinese folk here. Damn, I was trying to gaslight you. Darn. All right, do you want me to share the image on stream? So, because me, all right, cool. Here we go. Let me get the image. So, me, unnamed, and like, so there was a group of us where we went and, because there is no background on these characters and what have you, and we were having a hard time trying to communicate, like, oh, what's, like, you know, the names of some of these characters and what have you. So, we decided to create a fun little, like, chart where we just invented new names and, like, the occupations they had before they got into, like, the whole fighting thing. Because the actual plot of the game is, a group of free gunners, so mercenaries, or insert adventurer here, are part of a noun for a spaceship where they, you know, got the mechanical MacGuffin from the planet that doesn't matter, as after they had to deal with the nondescript evil corporation called the Guild, and now they do more adventures. So that's so it's, yeah, low rank guardians, exactly. So, we did a little thing where we decided to, like, name the character. So here's the first, like, 4 rows. Oh, because here's the thing, like, these designs are messy. You wouldn't think these are characters that, like, are in the same universe in isolation. So the very first one is Glorb Shito. This shit-eating, like, grin of a like, this smug green dude, and he was a garbage man because of, like, the high vis and what have you. And the reason why he has a gun, it's because he's in an open carry star system. That's the only reason. Then we have Lucy, and then whoever, like, talks to her, they just go with the nickname Chang because they can't pronounce her last name. She's just a nepo baby. She just has, like, no actual, like, you know, reason to do this other than the fact that she just wants to go fuck you, dad or mom or what have you, and instead wants to. But the thing is that she still utilizes her skills and wealth in order to, like, do these things. Hence why the drip, like, she has, like, expensive fucking beads, and then, like, you know, some extra nonsense, but then is, like, tapes on the shoes and a slingshot because she doesn't actually know violence. Then we have Galadis, an escaped parentheses gorilla. So basically, here is our token Stitch character / Rocket Raccoon. He was a gorilla. He was experimented on, hence why he has all these, to explain why he has, like, the feathery forearms, but then, like, the smooth shoulders and the big head. This Tupperware container woman is Tuppa Juarez. Oh, hang on. Why? Oh, goodness. All right, hang on. Normal zoom. There we go. So, that Tupperwaring woman is, she, like, unnamed wanted to name her, Tupperware, but we tried not to. She's a corner cleaner, hence why she's, like, got all the... She looks like something from Lethal Company or the Visceral Cleaning Crew, and then she's just put a Tupperware container on her head. I like how the game paints you as a Wukong successor that learns the Wukong carefree and chaotic lifestyle came back to bite him in the end. Yep, that's true. Over here, we have... Hang on a sec, let me make this bigger. Sorry, it's just... Much like the dude just telling the girlfriend about the Bionicles, I totally understand that this might not be up everyone's jam, but I really want to talk about this. Me with no artistic skill coming up with different names for. Also, you're gonna learn these people have names and what have you, and the names are boring. But yeah, here's Kitch or Kitch and does like a screeching noise because they're a bug thing, so their language isn't like easily translatable, especially when it comes to nouns. They're a ferryman shaman. My like headcanon is that they come from a planet that is either really fucking swampy or really fucking arid. Those are the two environments they've got on their planet. There's no in between. There's barely like you either have to deal with too much humidity and water or not enough humidity because it's so fucking dry and everything wants to kill you. Meanwhile, this is Michelle Mann. She is this Michelin Man looking girl. She has a flag on her shoulder pad. Like, look at that. This is where we came with the idea of like, oh, this is a space, like, this is like, imagine space football or space soccer, where instead of it being on like a 2D plane, so you have like forward, back, left, and like flankings and such, it's instead in a 3-dimensional space. So because of that, there's way more padding for users and such, because you could get hit from like above or below. And she's just a goalie. And then the piece de resistance, because every multiplayer game, this upsetted Unname as well, where there just has to be at least one person in the multiplayer shooter that has to be ex-military looking, because everyone's holding their shit. Wukong looks strange. I'm explaining some things, okay? I'm sorry we're not on Wukong right now. But yeah, rather than having, like, you know... Look at this guy. This is Tom, nickname Captain Smith. They're a Molcop. This is their military dude. It is true. They have it as a thing of, like, oh, ex-military. It's like, and this dude, he looks like he's ready for paintball. He's got the shoulder pad and the chest plate. He's not properly defended. His arms are exposed, but he is fucking weak, like limpy looking dude. And he has a radio thing. Like, he is not ex-military, but he's definitely he's that dude that goes to paintball tournaments and he's like way too sweaty about it. He goes to the gun range, way too sweaty about it. And then you have this skin tight fuckery, this No Man's Sky looking character. We went with Jessica Fies. I'm gonna be real with you. We did phone in some of these names. You probably noticed that already with Glorb Shito as the first one, and Tupa Juarez. But yeah, we were phoning in some of these names. Jessica Thighs, they're a content creator, because look at them. This is definitely someone in like the space equivalent of, hey guys, welcome to Alpha Centauri 7. I have here with me this brand new rocket launcher sponsored by Malware. We're gonna see if we can defeat gravity today and rocket jump over this no-fly zone. Wish me luck! Poof. That's what we think is gonna happen. Zad said we should have named her Thighs. Ah, damn it! Thighs would have been a great idea. Meanwhile, over here, we have Vinashe. I don't know why. There's just something, like, you know, Indian about her. But yeah, parentheses, Mama. She is a retired teacher. Every multiplayer game has, you know, has this old person. And they're always like, they're one of two things. They're either, I'm too old for this, or, oh my goodness, the young people can't get anything done. It's one of those two things. So we just made her a teacher. Over here, we've got Fish. That's not her real name. We don't know what her real name is. She has no employment. She has no job. She is essentially homeless. Over here, then, we have Rebecca. This is a military person. The Rebecca here is a military person. She's right now a park ranger, but she used to be an EOD expert. So EODs, I learned, is like military speak for the people that, you know, get rid of the mines and the bombs and shit. So the reason why she has prosthetic legs is because, well, they got blown up one day. So then she retired and she decided to be a park ranger. This is a lot better than the lore we got. Like, the actual reason why she has the prosthetic legs. Don't worry too hard about it. Now, over here, this one was a bit of a spicy one, because for a while, way too many of the people were being given, like, garbage collector, gardening, or hardware store. Over here, we have Guy Gardner, who's a botanist. I know there's a Guy Gardner in DC Comics. I understand that he's a bit of a dick in the DC comic universe as a Green Lantern, but this guy is Guy Gardner. As Unnamed will attest, they look like a gardener. I feel like they look like a Cajun, like, shaman, like, con man. That's my opinion, because I'm thinking of the shaman man from the Princess and the Frog that's done by Keith Davis. I think, like, that's what he makes me think of, like, but guess what? So, oh yeah, as Unnamed mentioned. Oh, wait, no, hang on. Normal zoom. Fuck's sake. Alright, hang on, I need to shrink this. Normal zoom. There we go. Slowly but surely I'll fix this. Normal zoom. There we go. So, this guy, his name is Jamali. That character, like, I'm gonna be real with you, it feels like as if they went with Jamal as his, like, original name, but then they were like, we can't just call a black man Jamal. That's phoning it in. So, yeah. And then we went to our best character, Paint Can over here. We're making fun of Concord. To give you context, Sashera, me Unnamed and Red in a Discord tried, because there is no backstory. Fun fact, none of these characters have, like, an actual, like, backstory for what they were doing before this, how they came together, and their relationship with the other characters. None of them have an actual backstory. All we get is their name and what they are mechanically. So me, Unnamed, and Red worked together to you weren't there for this? Oh, me, Unnamed, and Frack then. My mistake. Sorry. So yeah, me, Unnamed, and Frack went and, you know, invented names and backgrounds for them. Wasn't that the point to the game? Well, the game was apparently supposed to give you, like, story content once a week. It was, like, once a week there was supposed to be expanded, like, story and what have you, but because the game is gone now, we're not gonna get that. So, headcanon, this is probably the most realist story that we're about to get. And it is phoning it in. It is phoning it in like you wouldn't believe. We got Glorb Shido, who used to be a garbage man, Lucy Chang Chen, and Chang is just her nickname if people don't know how to actually say her name, who's a Nepo baby who joined the mercenaries. We got Galadis, who is an escaped gorilla. So imagine Stitch or Rocket Raccoon. Basically that. Then we have Tupperwares, hence why they, like, because they have their Tupperware nonsense. Kitsch with, like, screeching noises. They're a ferryman shaman. Michelle Mann, who's like from a invented space sport that's in 3-dimensional. Tom Smith, who's a mole cop. You also missed out on Jessica Thies. Anyway, back to Guy Gardner, botanist. And then we went over to Paint Can. And this is where we finally decided there was going to be connections between the different characters. In which case, he's Glorb Shito's co-worker. Because you know what his because granted, I edged Unnamed and Frack towards this thing because I saw, like, gameplay of him when Skill Up was talking about Concord in their videos and such, but that gun there is like a vacuum thingy-majiggy. So I pushed them over towards the end of, like, oh yeah, he's a competitor scrap person or something like that. So that's when they did, like, oh, Glorb Shitto's friend or something, and it's like, no. Glorb Shitto is an asshole. He's a co-worker. He's not a friend by thingy-majiggies. Then we have Jackal Minx, a DJ. Andy Milanokis is a butcher. And then we have KNZ, or Kenzie for short, who is an escaped mannequin from a fashion studio or something like that. I'm gonna be real with you, Unnamed. We phoned it in, but we did way more work with, like, the content that we had available to us compared to the content that is now being released. You know what they tell, like, the names they've given some of these people is shit. The backstory, shit. The mechanics, they're pretty sound, but that's all you get. Glorb Shido is just a gunslinger. Lucy Chang is a warlock from Destiny. That's all they tell us. Galadis is like a unique species with diamond armor. Tupperwares is just, you know, a mercenary. Kitsch, mercenary. Michelle, mercenary. Tom Smith, mercenary. Jessica Thighs, mercenary. Vaneshi is like the mentor to Lucy Chen over there. Rebecca is a sniper. You know why she has the robotic legs? Because apparently as a sniper, she would jump up to really high heights to get a tactical advantage while sniping. Any person who has gone and done military nonsense or has watched any military films will tell you that snipers don't fucking jump around 360 no-scope like Call of Duty. They will find a spot, they will take 3 days if they have to, shit in a box, piss in a can, also then that way they get the perfect spot for that 1 minute that it's actually effective. Yes, I will have a drink though. But instead, they give her a fucking Call of Duty fucking nonsense of, oh, she just jumped good. So they removed her legs for that? Yeah, they removed her legs for the least useful thing for snipers. Snipers don't need legs, they crawl. Cookie for meeps. You know what snipers need? Good internals, so then that way they're not, you know, shaking as they're aiming, or so for, like, you know, longevity nonsense, so they don't have to eat, drink, or sleep, or good eyes, or good arms. There is barely a reason for snipers to have good feet unless you're a scout, in which case, sure, that kind of makes sense, but sniper and scouts are two different things. Cookie for meeps. I feel like that would work on anyone else besides a sniper. You are absolutely correct. Meanwhile, the black dude over there that's in the gardening outfit, that's Jamali.
Did you see it?
The paint can over there is 1-dud. The names are crap. There's no backstory to them. And look at this noise! This is the other thing as well. Like, you probably see this now, like, way more zoomed out. There is so much fucking noise in the color. Like, you have, like, 1, 2, 3 people in some weird fucking high-vis color, but you could not tell them apart from a difference. You have 4 people in gray. You have, look, the girl down there, Jackal Minx. That's not her name. That's just the name we've given her. Jackal Minx. Hang on. Jackal Minx over there. She's apparently a knife thrower. Could you tell that? She's apparently a knife assassin. Meanwhile, over here, Andy Milikanakis, he's not a butcher, he's a medic. He's apparently meant to be your support / healer. And then over here, Kenzie is a spy. Yep. The pink robot in the fashionable gear is a spy. She doesn't change into other appearances. She just has a chance to, like, turn invisible. Rebecca literally is, we need Widowmaker, but don't want to just one-to-one copy the mechanics. You know what's worse? She is appearance-wise like the Canadian character from Overwatch, but is mechanically Widowmaker. They have, like, split the difference. The name Fish offends me. What's wrong with Fish? You got a problem with fish? I think it's... You got a problem with fish? I'm amazed that you don't have a problem with Glorb Shito. Or Lucy Chang Chen.
Nani?
What is what? Oh, yeah. So, Xerix, to give you... Wait, I actually thought your medic there was a woman. Also, why are they round like that? What's the purpose? They're just round. They're round. They're a little bit heavy. That's the reason. That's it. What's more, they don't give us one. That's the thing we're getting at, Sash. Like, this is the thing I'm getting at. This is the whole discussion we had in Discord and how we got founded onto making our own fucking names. Is because the few names they gave us were dull and there is no backstory. There is none of this, like, other than, like, 2 of them, which is, you know, the old woman, her name is Duchess. No other name, just Duchess. And she's a mentor to the monk-looking girl that's, like, you know, up there, the one I titled as a Nepo baby. It's, like, it's boring. Other than their designs. Yeah, that's the thing. That's everyone's thing. There's nothing but their designs. And what's more is their designs are shit. Like, they're okay in isolation. But the minute you have to bring them together, they're terrible. So, Jessica Thies, Tom Smith, and Rebecca, visually the same, color the same, and meanwhile, you have Andy, you have Glorb, and you have Juarez. Like, those are all having the puffer jacket nonsense. You're getting another drink. They don't look overweight, is my point. Like, if they made him heavy built, fine, but he looks like he's just wearing 20 layers for what? The 20 layers is why we said he was a butcher. We went with the 20 layers for Andy Milanakis because of the whole, oh yeah, it looks like he's wearing extra layers and the pudge. That's the reason we made him a butcher, is that he just looks like he has to keep himself, he looks like he works in a fridge. Thank you for sitting in my TED Talk of, here are some fucking shit posters that came with some better backstory for your characters that you're not gonna, like, you know what's gonna happen? We're probably gonna get it in, like, a year or two, where they're gonna be like, oh, hey, here's the backstory to the characters that we put so much time into, but didn't actually do a good execution of. Enjoy. And it's gonna be a case of, yeah, thank you. This means nothing to us. Alright, there's another place I need to go. Because otherwise we're gonna miss some... So yeah. Wonder if they'll try for a re-release. If the studio wants their work, like, to actually be used, yes. I reckon, much like Battleborn and some other studios, they will, like Helldivers, for instance, they're gonna make it again. 89% bimbo. Nice. Great tits. Oh. Oh, there it is. Ow. Alright, I'm gonna rest at Thingy-Madingy, and I need to find the village. There's, like, a particular village. Aw, 55% cute. Enough, need breakfast, though. Hungry. Understandable. Have a nice day. Alright, Is this where I want to go to? The Rock Clash platform? Alright, looks like everyone's getting their ratings done. I'm just gonna scroll back up and see if I missed anything. 0 hot girls. Here's the thing. The Jessica Minx character, I imagine she could have been a hot girl, but they did her dirty. They did her dirty in their animations and what have you. She could have looked sexy. She could have been like Garnet from Steven Universe, and they fucked it up. It's gonna be a tax rock out. We'll never see it. Who knows? Hi. Thighs is hot. Thighs can thigh me. Alrighty. No, we need to go this way. We need to. There's a village we need to go to. Only 8% cute for Solo though. Shame. Sorry, Solo. You're not cute enough. Did you do a bimbo or a himbo rating? 76% himbo. Nice. Great gains. Oh wait, no, this isn't the way we need to go. There's another place that we need to check out. There was another village thing for us to look at because they did like a there was like a drum thing that I could use. It's somewhere around here. So it's not this place. All right, it is. I'm trying to remember where I went for that place. Was it at the village entrance? Do they know what I look like? The robot? There's more to being cute than looking sexy. Grant's cute meter is broken. It gives me a shit score too. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm more in shock they canned the thing after 2 weeks. Oh, it probably wasn't even. It was like a week and a half. Like, did you check yourself, Sash? I don't think so. Sash just wants to. Sash just complains, but doesn't actually engage. Like, hang on a second. Let's check out Sash. Let's have a look up here. What are you talking about? 76%. Oh, it's so low. It's broken. 76%, Sash. That's a pretty high rating. I'm gonna break your robot's knees for saying I'm not cute. Good luck. Alright, I need to find... There's like another village thing. So it's like... It's not here as far as I know. Bitch, I'm adorable. Look, I'll tell you what. If you want... I can work on a new algorithm for the robot to follow, okay? I'm loving the auto captions when they get it wrong. Oh yeah, the auto captions are sometimes not the best. It's funny. That's why I, you know, allow Twitch to like do them and such. I don't deny because some people might need the captions.
Proven true.
Unname's just using all the points rather than like hyper himboing me or fine. Oop.
My day be so fine, then full. Morning.
My day do be so fine. Why are you doing the zebra roll anyway?
Oh, this is.
Thank you, Hendrix, for being my #1 fan. Morse is no longer my #1 biggest fan. It's now you, Hendrix. Congratulations. I think this is actually affecting my. My frame rate unnamed. I think by you playing this video, I am actually getting an effect. Something's happening. Just rest, please. Rest. There we go. Ooh. There we go. Using your redeems as a cyber attack vector. I never thought I'd have to put a limit. You realize that's gonna make unnamed do it more. Oh, right on fucking cue. Alright, here's what's gonna happen. Here's what's gonna happen. Cookie for Hendrix! What's up, unnamed? What's happening? And then it had. I am punishing. Fun fact.
Did you see it?
Fun fact. You don't have
Did
to.
you see it? Did you see it?
God damn it. There's gonna be a new one. You know what I'm probably gonna start doing is I'm gonna probably start having more stuff that's gonna like increase in cost as you use it. So that one with like the chair thingy-madiggy, I'll make it so that it's like, oh yeah, this will increase by like 10 points or something like that. Or maybe I'll like, you know, reduce it to like, instead of being 69, it'll then be 60, and then it'll increase by 10 points. Much like how the fishing one increases by like 25 or 50.
I'm here, little monkey. Let me hear my rattle drum.
Rattle drum time!
Part of me, when the dust stops, my cough
Unnamed
ends.
471 paid me to say grant you devil.
I know you're
Hashtag
not
cancel
from
grant.
around
Hashtag you bought.
Beanborg. Beanborg, you say.
Snow, and a piggy who steals all the drinks. And at the bottom of that well, that's a secret.
Wait, the bottom of the well? The fuck? Oh, hey, there's a thingy. How did I not see this chest before? Okay, I just got Will and some silk. Okay.
Bork.
Bork. And then I got myself some aged ginseng and some Will. Nice. Okay, so they talked about the bottom of a well having something. Like, this place is dried up as fuck. What well?
Bork.
Bork.
Did you see it? Did you see it? Did you see it? Did you see it?
Oh, Lord.
Did you see it?
Bork, 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 bork.
Dry, like Ben Shapiro's wife. Isn't the meme like Ben Shapiro's sister or something? Who's the one in Shapiro's circle with like the massive milkies? Yo, what's up, rat? The sister. Ah, okay. There we go. So there's an absolutely dry well somewhere. Nose. Alright, we advance. I don't know who has the fat tits. Unnamed, just outing themselves. It's just like, the sister. I mean, I don't know who has the fat tits.
Bork.
As if they aren't, like, you know, a fat tit connoisseur. Can we get a shout out for unnamed, please? Like a clip shout out? Is that all you know people for? Their bust size? Look, if I'm gonna know people from something, it might as well be their tits instead of, like, a terrible thing. Alrighty, make medicine. Alright, so we got all the cool things. We got the shock stuff, which will be helpful. The evil repellent does the damage reduction. So let's do 3 of you. You do the burn, the chill, the poisoned. I'm gonna do another one of you, just so I'm holding more. Slowly grants focus for a short time. Moderately increases damage. Critical hit chance. Maximum health. Alright, cool. So we got those. Alright, let's reignite some sparks. Our mascot is a blue booby. Yeah, the bird. Alrighty. Transformations. Let's have a look. So we have the option of the moon or this. Each talent level moderately increases defense. Each talent level moderately increases the damage of the next attack after a perfect dodge. I can't awaken any of these. Each talent slightly increases maximum might. Each talent slightly increases damage while transformed. Mighty recovery reduces the decay while transformed. And then these are the strands that do the plucky nonsense. Increases the damage dealt by duplicates. The plucks take so much, like, damage, though, is the problem. Increases the maximum health of the decoy. Increases the movement speed. Mysticism does the immobilization thing. What's this one? Increases the charging speed and increases the damage dealt with a variety Yeah, I'm gonna go with this one. I'm gonna full size you one. Increases from 4. The 4th does not sustain for long and its gauge depletes over time. Cool. Awesome.
Bork, 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 bork.
Bork. Alrighty. Yum. Alright, so we got a boss to take care of. So over here is an asshole. Alright, evil repelling. Shock. Alright, let's give you a try.
Come back. Why do you have to come back?
Did you see it?
All the realms can withstand its power! Let the wind
Damn it. That yellow sage is annoying. And did nothing there. There we go. Oh shit! The fuck was that? Hi there, YY. Welcome to the stream. Sorry, Hendrix. You are not a moderator. You cannot shout people out. I thought it was a big-breasted titmouse. I guess none of my moderators are here, so I'm gonna have to shout you out myself. Clip shout out. Hopefully the clip shout out works. Let's see.
We're done. It's done. Here, put it away.
Oh my goodness! Is that Warhammer shit?
You think we're done? I got more terrain. You think we're done? Here, we're not done. We've got more terrain to work on. Chat, Shit,
We're not
this
done?
Is what we're doing today. We're doing more terrain. I'm not done.
You okay?
Why is there so many?
You got all this terrain you're doing.
So this is part. I can't even see the tracking. I'm looking over the boxes now. This is terrain that my sister got me.
They're not done yet, are they?
We've
They haven't
got
done all the terrain
a
that they
defense
said they were
line.
gonna do, did they? Alright, so
We've got
evil repelling.
Bastion. We've got another defense
And
line.
then-
And then another defense line.
For all actions cost no stamina. Holy shit, that is amazing. Amplification. Pellet, I'm pretty sure I've already used that. Tiger subduing increases damage. Shock. Body cooling. That's the repelling stuff. Okay.
A skinny wretch like you has come far enough!
Oh, yes, that was a good one. Let's see if this will work. There we go. Oh, that was a delayed hit. God damn it. I used all those potions just then as well, and none of them work. Now you can wear the fatter ones. Oh yeah, unnamed. Congratulations. You got, like, even bigger tits now. Hi there, Sebastian Dingo. Welcome to the stream. I am trying to deal with a boss. I am not doing too well against him. Alright. Let's have a look at the things we can make. So we can make more medicines. So longevity increases the health. That one does the critical stuff. Tiger subduing increases the damage, and I can only increase that by 1. Slowly gain focus. That's doing the shock status. I'm not getting too much of the shock status. So we're gonna go with the damage reduction. There we go. Can we buy anything helpful? Poison, the shock, increases the stamina. Can purchase the mind stuff. Health for 12, 33, and 9. We're still leveling up. Alright, so we've got the Cloud Step. A mobility that leaves behind a decoy, which allows for quick dispersion, useful for evading a cat or luring into traps. And then that's for the defensive spell, which we've put a few into. Only got the immobilization, and then we've got the Azure. Can I do anything new with the weapons? Nope. And then this one, so 50 and 4%. This one does 70, but I need more refined iron sand, and I haven't exactly lucked out into picking up more. Alright, let's have a look at our brew. Can't exactly increase it right now. Normie versus macro can only go so well. Oh, the boss portions, yeah. So, alrighty. Now, I was also given a mine... So I now have a few mine cores, which I can apply... Because there's a dude that I can go to up here. He lives under a cellar. And he will, like, give us some... And for mine cores, he will give us celestial potions. So we'll have, like, a much better time against... Hello? Just...
May Lord Lao illuminate your path, brave one.
So there's celestial medicines we can do. So we can either increase our maximum health. I want to go with maximum mana, because I feel like that will be useful in being able to use some of the abilities I have more often. Especially if I want to do the plucky nonsense.
Uncover the secrets of sky and earth, and thou shalt have pills.
It's cool how the weapons can dig grooves on the... Yeah, so this was made in the Unreal Engine 5. So there is a lot of, like, extra nonsense that happens. So there's, like, way more cloth physics. There's there's the whole, like, you know, dispersal of the terrain a little bit. So they demonstrated this with snow in the tech demo or something like that. So yeah, so... And rather than it just being the staff, it's like, it's the feet... Cookie for Noetic. Here's your cookie. I'm playing as a monkey. You missed out on some very silly conversation about the Concord characters. Hi there, Dazarus. How far into this have you gone? Because I'm going to be real, I have died a few times to this guy.
How dare you come back? Why do you have to come back?
That was a bad hit. Damn it. Yes! There we go! That done it. Oh, I'm onto something. Oh, come on! Well, at least I'm getting a little bit of health, so... Oh, come on, come on. No, no, no. Get some health, get some health. There we go. Come on. Oh shit! Oh no 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 no! Oh damn it! You can use the charm from the bug boy on this part. The what? The what? Okay, you're gonna need to. Okay, the what fucking what earthen charm are you talking about? Oh.
My day.
Let me hop in so I can go make food.
Then boom.
I'll be able to drag you once you're like. Hang on. Also, why is the one? Ding dong. Hang on. Oh, I see. They're in the lobby right now. Ding dong. Dun, 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 dun. Gonna drag Dazzy in. You're gonna explain yourself, Dazzy. Once they are done doing their like thingy-majiggy. Alright, journal. Know-hows. Wisdom. Nope, none of that. None of that. Yeah. Right now they're muted, so don't worry too much about them. So.
Sorry, I didn't know I was muted. Go to your journal real quick. Let me see the Yao Guai King.
You're wondering if I killed someone?
Mm-hmm. There's
King.
a bunch of secret bosses on this stage.
So
you're missing like
Red,
several bosses.
Elder.
Okay, yeah, you're missing him. Do you know where Pigsy is, the big boy?
Did you see it?
The pig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you talked to him yet?
Yeah.
What did he want?
He wanted something for his head, so I got him a pill. Then he went over into the he went over to the Tiger Temple and was talking about food.
Did you get him the food there?
I think so, because he's not there anymore.
Okay, go back to where you first found him.
Yep. All right.
Do you have the gold statue face, by the way? That's one of the boss drops, I think, or a weird item. It should be in key items.
Yep. So I got that.
All right, go fight Pigsy. You're gonna get an item that just do this entire chain here. You know how it does that phase where it does like the tornado of sand?
Yeah.
When you use this item, once you do this entire chain of events, it stops that completely.
Ah, okay.
It also gives you a massive defense increase for like 30 seconds.
Why is it? Yeah, so he's the only one there. All right.
He would be in the he's not Crouching Tiger. He'd be in that area.
Yeah, he's in the rock
I would say
because there was also this kid with like who'd speak for me to like hit the drums and shit. I've gone to 2 places. I've gone to like there's sort of like village like things. The second one, he was talking about a well or something like that.
I know. So do you know where Earthen Dog was? The Earthen Wolf.
The who?
The Earthen Wolf you fought. It's where the horse guy was tied up in this stage.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, right there to the left there's a well. You do it one more time, there's a boss down there that gives you a really, really good gourd that increases your attack damage.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. There's a lot of hidden bosses. You fought the 2 longs so far, right?
Yeah, I
Black
fought the
and
2
red
longs,
okay.
so, like, there's a...
Just wait to yellow long. Oh, man, just wait to yellow long. Zash knows! Zash, you know! He was spicy!
There's a lot of secret bosses, and, like, the advice that Davy Boy gave me is the fact that it's like, oh, you want to explore.
Yeah.
So
The issue is a lot of this game doesn't tell you like all the things. Like you did the Buddha eye boss, right, with all the little eyes.
yep, I done the Buddha boss, and that's
Yeah, that's what
I
I'm
think
saying.
I think that's how I
There's
got
so many
the staff.
bosses that are
Oh,
like, yeah,
there
that's
he
how you get
is.
the staff. There's so many bosses that are just like, they don't tell you what to do. There he is. Go have fun. It's easy.
Saying, okay, cool.
The boss, by the way, you're gonna fight at the end of this is so fucking cool, Grant. Like, so fucking cool.
Oh wait, I can just do a pluck of many. There we go.
Yeah.
You deal with multiple me's. Fuck you.
Does he be like, did you find Sash yet? Yeah, you found Sash.
I fought
Oh
like,
yeah,
a lot of different stuff.
Zoodog is Sash.
Oh, I
Zoodog
know
is
where to
Fox.
go. I just have to deal with his. Oh wait, no, there isn't a thingamadiggy there for me to wait at the shrine. I have to run through 2 enemies to get to him. God damn it.
Love how your pinch is just you hanging from the search bar, Dazzy. Thank you, Xerix.
So yeah. Oh, no, thanks. So you've gone and completed it already.
I've completed the game, but I've done literally everything up to chapter 4. Chapter 4 sucks, by the way. I hate it.
Noted.
It's
Is
not
this
that it's
chapter
hard, it's just
2?
gross. This is chapter 2, Rod.
Alrighty then.
I think there's 6 or 7 chapters because there's 6 relics.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's like 6 chapters and like a big finale. I don't know. Maybe it's finale 6. I don't know.
Hey, leveled up. Nice.
Get ready for some really weird cutscenes.
Look, I am already familiar with the Chinese lore being weird, so that's nothing new
It gets
to me.
so much weirder. It gets so much weirder.
I don't.
You'll see.
I don't. Yeah. Okay.
When you
Alright.
finish chapter 3, is the really big what the fuck did I just witness scene.
So yeah, hang on. So which one was the sash one? Not Black Long.
Oh, it's Zoodog. It's the guy who gives you pills.
Oh,
It's Zoodog, yeah. Zoodog is the fox god
there
of
it
the
is.
Zodiac. Oh, you haven't unlocked the Zodiacs yet, but he's one of the Zodiacs.
Zoodog.
And yeah.
No divine arts. No meditation stance. With a palm fan, he nurtures his pills dance. A sincere heart, the medicine he seeks. Bored by human woes and worldly techniques.
It's Sash.
Just giving me drugs, and then we have this weird headless
Yeah.
monk, the man in the stone, keeper of the black.
Oh, the
Wind.
headless monk is gonna make sense as soon as you beat this fucking main boss.
Noted. Cool. Alright. I just need to. Alright, I just need to wait for the immobilization to be done. There isn't like a thing for me to rest here, is there? I have to like do
No.
the run every time.
Why are you using rock over fire dog, by the way, for transformation so far? The defense?
The defense. I like the fire guy, but he's not helpful right now. And I wanted to...
Did you figure out how to use his like really powerful attacks or no?
Yeah, I figured some of that nonsense out.
Okay.
Wow, fuck you. Alright, let's do you early. There we go. Oh, I see. He needs damage. He needs to get damaged in order to unlock his cool thingamajiggers. Alright. Hit me a few times. Oh, wait. The decay is going too quickly. I'm gonna have to just give him the hits.
Yeah, that's why I would say use fire dog, because all you gotta do is do some attacks, and then
it
you
goes
rear back, and then you do the jump, fire crash. It's really high damage. It's on fire and stuff. At least until you get Tiger Daddy. I'm not gonna tell you how to get Tiger Daddy or what Tiger Daddy is, but it's so fucking good.
I
No spoiler.
appreciate everything you've helped me with so far, and explaining like the things that I'm missing here and that I should have come back here, because I thought he was going to come up in a different area, because he was talking about a city of gold and shit. So, but so far...
And don't worry, I'll keep it spoiler free.
Also, I'm close to getting something out of the way. Ah, I missed time. No, come on, get some health, get some health, get some health. There we go.
Yeah.
Dust fails, dust frail.
By the way, Grant, you know, do you have that? Actually, I'll look at it in a second. I'll see in a second. Because it's something that I was like really shooting myself in the foot with this game for a while.
Did not hear a single thing you said just then.
Excellent fight. The
Okay, I'm on an ad break. I'm gonna go get myself some food because I'm starving and I have a headache. I'm gonna stream in a second. But you beat the fight. Good job. When you're done with this, can you show me what gore do you have?
Yeah, later.
Well, because you get a red gourd to start with, right, in the game. Like if you like
It's
the
it's not
bonus.
his favorite drink. It just does like each time you increase it, it gives you. It only keeps you to 1 soak, but it does give you like more health as like initial gain. Right now, I'm drinking the lamb one, where when I level it up, it'll have 3 soaks. It does less heals initially, but it still does heals over time, which I'm very fine with.
that's the drink or the actual gourd itself.
Oh, Alphic, yeah.
Because when you upgrade the quantity of your gourd, it does not affect that gourd.
Noted.
Because if you have the gourd, that's like whenever you get that first drink, it's a full heal. It's really good early on, but I was upgrading my gourd. I was like, why do I still only have like 4 charges when I have fucking 9 charges? That absolutely changed my gameplay entirely.
Noted.
Continue excitement as for what, Sash? I just want to keep someone post curve.
So then that way, like, I will slowly, like, understand things.
Behold, be it the realm of sunset or the realm of gold, it's but an echo of the past. Legends speak of an ancient, colossal beetle in these sands.
Oh, this is the beetle you're talking about.
In slumber, it lay hidden.
Oh, he's
beneath
cool,
the
by
earth's
the way.
embrace.
Like when you actually do the boss battle,
It would
and
devour
like
souls that crossed its path.
the dude helps you, like halfway through the boss battle, it's so fucking cool, Grant. Like it's so fucking cool. Like legitimately, it's so fucking cool, and it gives you some really good shit. The horn, the item you get from this beetle boss, I still can't use, and I'm wearing legendary gear.
Power emanating from the insect.
So this is like some, because it's a mystic level item,
Halted the beetle's havoc and harnessed it for his
which
own
I don't know what that means yet.
I will learn about more stuff as I go along. But thank you so much, Dazzy, for helping me out with, like, because I didn't think, because, yeah, I wasn't 100% certain if I explored everything, but thank you for, you know, helping me out with there. I obviously didn't, like, double check everywhere, so.
All I'll say is minus like the 2 long brothers from chapter 1 and 2 that requires the scale. Every boss is obtainable, like the Yagwai Kings and Chieftains are all obtainable in the chapters. So if you leave and there's like 2 bosses missing, then you can see 2 bosses. The only one that's not like that is once you beat the 3rd chapter, there's a rat somewhere. But you have to beat the chapter first and then just come back, I think. Because it's one from it, maybe it's just a glitch from I'll check there.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm getting some curry. I'll check back in. Have fun to beat a boss.
Thank you.
The rocks are a mechanic. Just like Black Long, the rocks are a mechanic, I think. I could be wrong, but I think.
I imagine it is, because they gave me the rock just after, like, in this chapter. Because the...
No, I mean the rocks in the ground, not the rock.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I know about that with the Yellow Long, or whatever his name is. But, fun fact, I don't know if you experienced this, but you know the first spell you get where it, like, freezes the person?
Mm-hmm.
So, did you go... You obviously went through chapter 1 with the bear, the black bear, whatever his name is, right?
Yeah.
When he's in his cloud stage, and you use that spell during his cloud stage, he breaks out of it and he falls over.
There's a lot of weird interactions like that.
So I love that.
Bunch.
So yeah, so that's why I was like, oh, that makes sense. So that's why I was like, oh yeah, the rock thing must be useful for someone. So yeah, it wasn't like 100% for the yellow stage, but yeah, now that you mention, so yeah.
By the way, I'm not going to tell you details of where to find it or what it does, but you know how certain bosses just seem immune to certain spells, like the lockdown?
Yeah.
There is a certain thing you'll get later on in the game that will really help you out on those circumstances immensely.
Mm-hmm.
That is all. I'm gonna get some curry.
Have fun. Have fun.
Don't forget, once you beat this shit, go back to where you got the Shadow Dog. It's actually, or the Earth Dog, Earth Wolf. He's actually in your spirit selection, so you can see him, what he looks like. And Get that well, because that gourd is really, really good.
Understood. I am
I'm
still
coming,
doing
Layla.
stuff.
I'm hungry too.
I feel like I was very close to like spoiler territories, or as long as, because Dazzy sounds like he enjoyed this game a lot. Sounds like he had a lot of fun with this. He loved it, and there's just so much stuff that he's like, oh, you're gonna do this, and then you're gonna do that, and then you're gonna have this, and then you're gonna learn this, but then you're gonna have this trouble. It's like, cool. I very much appreciate the help though. Thank you so much for the help. But once all the like, I just need an initial direction. If I'm stuck and it requires like 3 steps, just tell me what the next step is. Don't tell me what the 3 steps are. So yeah, so when he was like, oh yeah, did you get the bug? And I'm like, the what? So that one helped me out, because he was like, no, you need to go to this person and you're going to fight him. And it's like, oh, okay, and that's how you get the door open, because I was trying to figure out how to get that door open last week. Now we know where the well is as well. So once we're done a little bit around this area, we're going to go back to the village entrance and go to that well. For now, let's see. So I need a Knot of Voidness to increase that guy, who's pretty high. This one reduces the key cost and moderately increases my maximum mana. Yep, and that one's once again Knot of Voidness. That guy summons Vipers. This one is large amount of damage. It increases the critical damage. Grants a small amount of additional focus on hit. Increases damage reduction. Increases thunder damage. Reduces stamina. Increases jump. Focus
Sipping
gain from...
Time sponsored by Zarix Jaeger.
Slightly increases attacks. Significantly increases defense. Slightly increases critical hit chance. Throws knives that claim knife from a distance. Moderately increases... Alright. Alright, we're gonna give the other thingy-majiggy sponsorship. Yeah. I really need to play the game. It does look like fun. Don't think I've spoiled much, as I only dipped in, and it's very incomprehensible without context. It is fun. It is an action RPG, stamina-based combat. If you are fine with games like Monster Hunter, Dark Souls, this is for you. And it's not punishing. So if you die, you don't just like lose all your will or whatever like level progression. You still have all that. Death is death. That's what it is. It isn't like a huge punishment when you die. All right. So, let's swap from you to... Why do you keep going as red? There we go. Alright, we're gonna try this guy next. So he's apparently gonna give us like a crimson glow to increase our thingy. So that should be good. Alright, let's...
You, traveler. Back to where you belong. I'll meet your end here. I am the vanguard of the Yellow Wind King. I patrol this land by royal decree. A Yaoguai lurks. You scorn my words? I'll have you served to the king's dinner!
Tiger Vanguard. Alrighty then, Tiger Boy. Alrighty. Also, I didn't have like my Taoist available there, so I was like using it, and it was like nothing happened. So, gonna fix that. You really need. So yeah, I hate being punished for dying unless it's to pay for repair gear or transporting back to where you were. The most it does is it just teleports you back to where, like, to these shrines. I still have my will. The only thing that's lost is the consumables that I used in that fight. and everything goes back up to like a point and such. Cookie for unnamed. Here's your cookie. So yeah, ding, dong. Alrighty, here we go. Let's try and deal with this tiger again. Oh, okay, I see. You can do like a thing. Oh. Come on. Get closer. Oh, okay. Could you, like, not do the grind? Yes, there we go. And alright, so I can't use the Taoist like close by, because otherwise it's a leg-shaped cookie. It's just a cookie, it's not leg-shaped. So I can't use the Taoist like nearby, because otherwise he's gonna like break out, so it's probably a case of I need to use it like before he starts engaging me. I can't use it as like a, because like the guy that gave me like the increased defense and what have you, I was using it as sort of a, oh, attack of opportunity, or you know, just a extra bit of like heavy armor. All right, here we go. So to go 3, 2, 1. There we go.
One I slew, now another comes. Where did you learn that art?
There we go. Come on.
While I stand, none shall pass.
Skull Crusher. There we go.
Cross slash. Stand firm.
Yes! I got him just on the tip of my spear. Damn proud of you, Sukuna. You were strong.
Grand might. Brave soul, why not use this might to aid my king's good deed?
Sounds good.
Our king comes from Mount Lingshan. His kind heart seeks to end the place's suffering.
Tiger Man is now an ally, it seems.
Run deep. And with your help, our chances will be doubled.
Hello.
Hello, Tiger Daddy. Nice work. Alrighty. Octarix, thank you for the follow. I greatly appreciate it. Yes, look, unnamed. There are so many fucking like the portraits do not give this game justice to the amount of furry bait that's in this game. There's so many fucking furry daddies in here. There's not very many furry mamas here, which is a little disappointing, but I can hold out. I can dream. I can dream that there's a big booby mama somewhere in this game, okay? It's gonna happen at some point, and it's gonna be beautiful. That's what TG art is for? Cool. Alright, hang on. Offer my incense. So, pluck my hair, turn it into a little incense, and there we go. There's gonna be Rule 34 of this once more people play it. Alrighty, so we're gonna rest. And I am curious, because this area does look explorable, and this game needs to have maps more often, quite frankly. Oh, I can't open that. Oh, but I can open this. Did we battle the Beetle Boy? No, not yet. We have not yet battled the Beetle Boy. Hey, not a Voidness! I was looking for that. And a Gold Ridge Beast. Huh. We're doing a little bit of exploration, just a little bit, before we... Because I saw there was like this massive drum thingy. You bring belly? Good big belly. A lot of people like the belly in my chat. Do you know of a streamer named Code the Yoshi? He got a big belly. Oh, hello. Alright. Hey, licorice. Always good to have a little more licorice. Ah, yes! A meditation spot. Beautiful. Apparently I always knew this, Dazarus. I always knew your skill level in games is a little bit higher than the average, okay? I have gone through way too many different types of games for me to be cracked at any one game. It's impossible for me. It's not there for me. Unless I 100% committed to a particular format, it ain't gonna happen to me. So for now, it's gonna be, you know, playing whatever the fuck I want. But yeah, I love the meditation spots. I feel like the meditation spots is a nice little addition to this game. Because what it does is it makes it so that... So, you know all those times when games are like, oh, here is a required stealth section. You have to go through this slowly and meticulously. That's the developers trying to slow you down to, like, you know, not have you burn yourself out and what have you. Some of us do not like this. Now, the meditation spots feature the same purpose. It's meant to, like, you know... It's meant to sort of, you know, slow you down a little bit, so you're not, like, heart-pumping adrenaline nonsense. You're able to, like, take a beat and have a look and appreciate, like, all around you and really enjoy the splendor of the game. And this is what's happening here. Hang on, wasn't I just fighting you, like, literally a minute ago?
Bested my vanguard. Then you do indeed have skills. That Yao Guai must have some vessel that counters me. Even my Samadhi wind can't hurt it. There is only one way to draw out this Yao Guai. I'll sound the drums and it'll come forward.
Okay.
If you are willing, I ask you to seize its vessel at the right time. Then the Yao Guai will be mine.
I didn't think there was, like, time travel-y nonsense that was happening in this game. Other than when I'm, like, doing, like, specific rituals and going into a meditation. Like in the first chapter. I don't think I did that with this one. Oh my god, it's a fucking Hercules beetle. Oh, they've done an amazing job with this beetle. Move on! The other dude is his apprentice. Oh, the one... Okay.
Here, at the western end of the world, each day the sun sets and boils the sea. The boiling hiss is sharp.
Alright. One of history's worst villains. It's the Kubateri Mon? Okay, you can't use Digimon. There's enough Digimon out there in the world. Oh, licorice. Thank you for the licorice. Alrighty. Alrighty. Let's see how we do. Three, 2, 1.
The beetle's coming! Strike hard!
He said strike the claws, right? Ow. I think that's what he said. Let's get some... Come on, come on, come on, come on. There we go. Ow, fuck you. Three, 2, 1. Oh, wait. Oh! Nice! I did that at the right time. Oh, no, I didn't do that one at the right time. Three, 2. Oh, that's not... That wasn't the right time. Come on. 3, 2, 1. How many times is he gonna do this, is the question.
As long as the drum beats, that one will not get away!
3. Alright, cool. Oh, hey, there's a little thingamadiggy on his thing. The fuck is that?
Now, seize the vessel!
Oh, hey, it's another eye. Okay, not explicitly an eye, but it's something.
I'll join you!
I didn't put too many points into being good at Final Fantasy XIV. It's just the one game I decided to, like, continue playing. Oh, okay. Hang on. Jump. Oh, wait, that's not a jump. 3, 2. Ah, there we go. That did it. That did it.
No one would fear you! Do it now, you monkey!
Woo! Alrighty, so that's Dazarus's piece of advice out of the way with the, some sort of earthen relic. Uh-oh. Thank you for the peck dance, by the by, Renee. I do appreciate it. Ooh. Is that another one? No, that's still the same one. We're gonna need to get rid of that head. Nope, never mind. He just forever has that head stuck on his shell, I suppose. I thought we were gonna, like, break it off him, and then it would, like, you know, reveal a vulnerable side, and then he'd be killed that way. But, whatever.
On the folks' behalf, I thank you.
Cookie for Renee. Here's your cookie. Also, Octoreix, you streamer? Is that why you have all these cool emotes? Looks like you might stream. Yeah, it looks like it's your stream. Full pecs. Yeah, full pecs. You were, but you had to stop streaming. Aw. Well, I hope it wasn't for... I hope it was, like, you know, of your own volition, like, for mental health or prioritization, and it wasn't something that was, like, you know, people bullying out of you and such like that. It was pretty cool. The Wind Tamer. Abide by the Buddha's decree, here to subdue a yellow wind guai. Oh my goodness, I wonder what it's gonna be used for. There it is. So, upon activation, it massively increases the damage reduction for a short duration and grants immunity to strong winds. Highly effective against specific enemies. Yep. Similar to this one, how this one was really strong against, like, burn immunity for the what's-mahoozy guy. Awesome. Perfect dodges. Slightly reduced cooldown for all spells. Upon a short duration after using the gourd, moderately increases attack. Refraining from using a gourd for a relatively long duration moderately reduces attack on the contrary. Wait, what? For a short duration after using the gourd, moderately increases attack. Refraining from using gourd for a relatively long time moderately reduces attack. Okay, so it wants me to drink. It wants me to do a lot of drinking. Meanwhile, this one gives me a damage bonus on enemies at critical health. Okay. Crystal. Sylvester Crystal. Maybe it can be exchanged for something valuable. Yep. The sky-piercing horn. Into the earth it burrows. Through the sky it pierces. The singular horn of the beetle bestows its kind of ability to thrive anywhere. This can be used to crafting weapons. Alright, and then we've got the Knot of Voidness. So we don't unlock anything with you there. That still wants refined things, so we don't yet have a secret spell yet. But yeah, we got the vessel for this chapter, which is very useful, and yeah, we gotta go to the well. Go. Thank you for the hyper himbo. I greatly appreciate it. It is very silly being able to do that. I absolutely love that. It's a stupid technique, but I love it all the same. Alrighty. I'm gonna swap back to the... I'm gonna swap back to this guy, because he gives me, like, way more defense. And what's more is I can use, like, the Knot of Voidness. Oh, hey, I can craft armors. Upon taking medicine, it grants a considerable amount of focus. And then it increases the effect of all... So that requires cold iron leaves. So that's what I'm wearing right now. The Serpentine Scale Robes is for the waves. Deals additional damage to the enemy upon crashing their immobilization. Upon crashing the immobilization, greatly reduces the cooldown for the immobilization spell. So that does less for me. The insect bracers. Upon taking so yeah, so that's the insect stuff. Weird that it doesn't have a chest plate for it. But it does have a head. So 1, 2, 3. It doesn't have a fourth one, annoyingly enough. Hi there, Bookie. Welcome to the stream. Alright, I'm gonna cultivate this spirit here. Because, yeah, significant increase to what's Mahoozies is good. And then it just needs another Knot to Voidness, and then it'll be max. So, yeah. Alrighty. You have been welcomed. Yay, welcome, welcome. And then we've got... Alright, let's do... So we got 2 different kinds. We got all sorts we can do. Each level slightly increases the might retained from de-transforming. Cookie for a Bookie! Here's your cookie, Bookie. I need to get ready for stream. Have fun. Don't forget to get the well. Won't forget the well. Increases the attack. Increases the maximum might. Increases the recovery speed. Increases... It reduces the might delay. Increases the starter. Increases the thingy. I'm gonna... Let's see, what's this foundational? Leaves an illusion in your way which explodes instantly, dealing damage. Each level increases when health is low. After 6 successful hits with a light combo, deal extra area damage. Blocking project. Let's go with this one. Increases the thingy. Increases the focus gained. Increases the grants significant damage reduction during the light attack finisher. I do like that one. I do that combo so often. Alrighty. Oh wait, no. Travel. The village entrance. Here we go. Good work on the koi fish there, Bookie. It's probably gonna be a year before I get back to streaming. Oh, okay. Not to worry, Octa. You go at it in your own time, okay? The reason I got into streaming 3 years ago was not to make money or to be like the best streamer or anything like that. I just quite simply played video games a lot, and I opted to, rather than doing that in my free time, I manipulated it just a little bit, so then that way it was instead streaming in that free time as well. Alrighty. So a kid wants me to go to a well. Oh, there's a spirit.
Huh? How did you even know I was here?
Because you told me about it.
Pa and I know of this place.
Because you told me about it.
Don't tell anyone, but I have a friend in this well. He helped me with my coughing fit. It's been so long. I hope his wounds have healed too.
Okay, what are you doing? Don't jump into the...
Down and play with us.
The kid's an idiot, or the kid is a trap. Either way, we're going in there. I would be afraid of jumping into a well that narrow. Don't have to stress over stats or sub numbers that way. Yeah, no, so I don't do that huge amount of stress. I will be... Oh, cutscene. I can't pause these annoyingly enough.
What? And he dares bear our father's title under that yellow wind, why? Brother or not, I will have my vengeance.
A mad tiger. Okay.
The kid's dad ran off, but now you've shown up to me!
Alright. Oh. Fuck you. Damn it. No. I thought I had time to do the pluck, but I didn't. That was dumb of me. I didn't have the time to do the pluck. But yeah, so I don't have to stress about statistics or subscriber numbers, but I do look at them and what have you. And because it does get into me, so it's like, oh, I have an interest in looking into them, but it's not like to a level where it's like my livelihood is at stake. It's instead of a case of what is it that people like and what don't people like, and do I feel validated in the stuff that I want to do that people also like? So it's one of those kinds of, like, you know, stat books. Ooh. That did not help. I pressed the wrong spell then. I was trying to do a Pluck of Many, which was... Actually, maybe I should do a Pluck of Many at the start. It will give me, like, a lot of, It will do, like, a lot of my mana, but... I reckon it will work, because he's gonna close the distance anyway. Alright, here we go. So, Pluck. They do their thing.
Food has come to me. Can't let you flee.
Oh, I timed that wrong. Oh! I didn't realize I swapped to pole mode then.
Even in the end.
Well, I'm glad that didn't take me too many attempts on stream. Got myself quite a bit of will, a bit of yarn, a bit of silk. Got myself a blood thingy. He was damn strong, Sukuna. Damn proud of you, Sukuna. You are strong. Alrighty. But yeah, good to know that the thingy-majiggy does like a burst of something or other. So I can use it like right next to someone. Because the fire thing... Plague Bane Gourd. So that's the gourd that Dazarus was talking about earlier. So, good for us. Ah, here we go. Incense. Alright. So that's that, and then the soaks are all these. Can't craft any new art. So we can't craft anything new here. Or here yet. We still need more of that refined nonsense. But we are getting more of those sands, interestingly enough. Nothing new in there. Alright. New spirit. Nope, he's not here. Oh wait, no, he was. Oh my god, I just skipped him. There he is, the Mad Tiger. You take the form of a mad tiger, roar with terrifying might to shock surrounding foes, and deal area damage to the front. While it's equipped, I moderately increase in attack, but massively reduce the maximum health. Ooh boy, that's quite a bit. Alright, here's what I'm gonna... I'm sorry, I need to go to the bathroom. I'm sorry, I need to go to the bathroom. I really need a piss. I'm gonna do a bathroom break, okay? I'm gonna need to do a bathroom break. Oh, Elon, no, you know what Elon Musk would be?
Sipping time sponsored
Elon
by
Musk would be a
Renee
protogen. Or
Rosenroth.
what is that species called? Is that the right name? Protogen. Is that the... Yes, protogen. Elon Musk would be a protogen, and he would, you know what? He would have the goal to be like, this is an original species. Elon would most certainly, 100%, you can clip me on this one, so I have to stand by this. If Elon Musk got a persona, it would be a protogen, and he would make it seem like as if he invented that species. That's what Elon Musk would do. He wouldn't be a snake. He'd be a pro. This is the most himbo you're going to find me.
That stole your shirt. I'm sorry. I just wanted to oogle zebra titties.
Oogle. Oogle before the zebra titties. Meow. Meow. Hang on a second. My keyboard out of the way so I can do so I can drag it across the desktop. Watch this nonsense. Meow. Spinning. Ooh! Oh my god, look at the size of her tits.
Yeah, why did we not realize that was the first thing you were going to stare at, not the size of the big fucking sword?
Everyone has a big sword.
I really like the sword.
You shove it in your chest.
Shove it up your ass.
Look at the...
I'm focused on murdering her.
Look at the titties.
Grant, stop looking at the titty.
But it's so good.
I mean, yes, but I don't focus on the titties as someone who wants to fucking murder the shit out of me.
Human being. What's the trick, Gold Buick? I've already lost my shirt, and you can't take my pants, so... Do tell me of this so-called trick you have in... Alright, I'm back. There's like 20 seconds left in the advertisement, but I'm back.
Also gold.
What the... What? Oh. There we go.
That says staff.
Yeah. Stop the animation, do the thing. Stop that. Back over to the game we go. I am curious if the guy hidden in the rock has anything for us. I wonder if he has anything helpful. I also need to double check the... grants considerable when Gorge use is depleted. Versus, upon successful hits with light attack combos, moderately increases attack. I like that one. Way more than, you know, needing to deplete the board. Alrighty. Let's go check in on our rock fella. See if he's got anything for us. Ginseng. Anything good?
Boy, the lad from the Tescarmer, his old man murdered neighbours. Surely them villagers would... But they've all wandering. Why you be staring at me? I was scared too. Rarest stuff to seize. Guaranteed to please.
12,800.
Finest goods in town.
6,000.
Won't let you down.
Iron pellets. You can no longer be interrupted by incoming attacks and now provides considerable damage reduction. Slightly increases will gained from defeating enemies. Nice.
You got yourself a right fine bargain. Make sure you fetch more will next time.
Sounds good, crazy man. Alrighty. Also, how much of the mine stuff do I have, actually? So, yeah, he's talking about that spirit there. I'm only at 5%, which isn't great. Cold iron leaves. Slabs of leaf-shaped iron wrestled from the armor of a Yaoguai king, gleaming with a cold radiance and resonant with harsh colors. Sands have been melted that can be used in crafting. Those are the iron pellets. Those are the crafting recipes. We got a medicine gourd with 5 uses. And a plague bane. Health recovery is halved, but attack is increased for a short duration after using the gourd. Yeah, let's give it a try. Let's give that one a try. None of them are giving me what I want. Shame. How did I not know of this part? I am an idiot some days. There we go. Oh, yeah, of course. Not really that important. Go. Where did this spot come from? Never seen this place before. Huh. Well, that's where it goes. And then... yeah. Okay, I must have run past this place like a dozen times. Yeah. Holy shit. Alright, what's down here? There we go. Alright, let's get to the... alright, let's get to the medicine man. See if there's any, like, stuff we can have. Crouching Tiger Cellar. Here we go. Let's see how we do. Let's see how we do. Alright, here we go.
Self-refinement is the way to make golden pills. What say you, brave one?
Mana, stamina, defense, stamina recovery, chill, burn, shock. You want pills, yes? Pills? Stamina recovery rate, defense, stamina. I'm gonna go with the mana again.
Seek from within.
I feel like mana, because I don't have a reliable way of regaining mana like I do health. So, yeah. There we go. And then on the mortal side, so we got those. I don't have any snakehead mushrooms, unfortunately, to do the critical chances and such. Let's do the shock stuff. Damage reduction is always good. And... yeah, alrighty then. No, don't have anything for me. Alright. But yeah. You like that character, don't you? You like the zoo dog. Zoo. Yep, cool. I've set the longevity thingamadiggy correctly. Alright. Staff is good. I've got the thingamadiggy that I've got the spirit that I want. I've got the relic that I want. We should be good. Let's see how we go.
How dare you come back? Why do you have to come back? How is it yours to use?
Come on, move, move, move. There we go. There we go. Okay, I forgot about the... Ow. Get it. I'm doing the wrong timing. Ah! My timing was all off.
The monkey once again. Open your eyes and behold!
He's just a scrumbly lad. Yeah, the fox dude is a scrumbly lad. Good for him. But yeah, I messed up those I messed those up. Alrighty. So, let's have a look. Metis. So, alright, let's buy stuff in the store. So we can get either that, shock stuff, increases the maximum. I'm gonna, fuck it, gonna buy the licorice, the jade fragrance, and the jade lotus. I need to figure out where to go for the, Alright, so elemental 1 for that. Increases focus, shock, chilled, damage reduction. And there we go. That's on the left. Fortify increases the focus, which we'll put here. Alrighty, let's give it let's give this one a try. The pluck was helpful, but even when I used it, I didn't really. I still had to use health, like I still had to use my gourd and what have you. Alrighty, longevity, shock, evil, Jinxen.
How dare you come back? Why do you have to come back?
There we go. There we go. Come on. You know you want to. Oh, hello, local cat boy. Welcome to the stream. Hopefully you're doing all right. Welcome, welcome. Welcome, welcome. My name is Grant. I'm a variety himbo streamer. I am right now going through Black Myth Wukong. I'm trying my best to, like, not die. Oh, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. Ah, I got distracted by the boobies. Thank you, Reagan Smash, for the 10 bits to do the gigantified emote. You press button and you hyper himboed me. Thank you. I got distracted. We'll try again this time. We'll try again. We'll run this again. I don't really have a lot of, like, potions and what have you, but that's okay. We're gonna do our... You can't... Oh, what just happened to my stream? Hello? Hello? What just happened? OBS? Uh-oh. The avatar froze on our end? Okay, but everything else is okay? It looks like it's just... It looks like it's just Vignon. Alright, I'm gonna close out Vignon. Close the program. Game seems okay. Good to know. Good to know that the game seems okay. Although my OBS is not really updating the visual. So, hang on a second. Nope. Preview. Alright, I'm gonna disable preview, enable preview. Nothing happened. I have no clue what my stream looks like right now. Oh, goodness. Okay. I can watch, like, my, Give me a second, give me a second. How's it looking? Iffy. Alright, I'm just gonna disable the preview on my OBS because it's not helpful. And we're gonna see. Your PNG has larger pecs than your model. Nah, they're about the same size. I think it's just the case of, like, the way he's like, set up and what have you. It's at the size that he is. It's not a perfect PNG, I will be real with you, but, yeah.
A skinny wretch like you has come far enough!
There we go.
My trident is not...
There we go. Oh, that's not good, that's not good, that's not good. I don't have that win thing. Ah! Okay, well at least I have, like, full health. Uh-oh. Come on, get your health back, get your health back. Oh, you motherfucker! No, 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 no. Come on. Drink, 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 drink. Yes! Yes! Did it! Got it! There we go!
You stole Erlang's spell and snatched the great sage's relic. You even took your master's heed. Just for a short reign over this barren valley.
What is going on? Oh, Jesus Christ, you're huge! Oh, that was your head! Interesting. I thought that was a woman's head earlier, but I didn't see the mustache.
I'm Bodhisattva Lingji of New Mount Sumeru, the warden of this rat. After the great sage's passing, his sixth senses were scattered across the mortal realm. This thieving rat chanced upon one of them, yet hindered by his meager might, he could not absorb its power. Thus he schemed with wicked intent. A victim of his deceit, I had my head taken by him. The sense requires such a grand container to release its power. I should bear the blame for his reign of havoc upon this ridge again.
Okay.
Through your valor and sagacity, order has been restored. You are the sole worthy one to keep it.
Okay.
Please, keep it secure in my stead.
It's a gourd with holes? Is that what it is? Oh, hey, this is a different animation to the one we saw, like in the first chapter. Fox! Sash, look, it's you! Is that what it's called? An ocarina? Oh my god, look at the little fluffy thing. What the fuck? Alright, yeah, good call there. Thank you for the modesty. Why do I feel like something tragic's gonna happen? Because, you know, that's what these things do. Oop. And then the boy leaves, the boy comes back as like some important dude. And then, uh-oh. Wait, what? Why'd you do that? Was that a premonition? Oh no.
Men, beasts, Buddhas, Yaoguais. Each of them bears a distinct root from birth.
Killed her!
Superior and inferior. None should disturb what's decided. Am I right, Sun Wukong?
With the wind and sand you've endured here, did you reach the Forgotten Kingdom at the end of the land? Did you find the clash of stones and the fall of Tiger's acolyte? If you shut your ears and heed only your inner murmur, I fear the more you yearn for flawless endings,
It might, like, here's the thing, is that we don't know now. It could have been a premonition. It could have been, like, you know, a vision that couldn't have come true. Like, we don't know that. And he still killed her.
complaints ride upon the wind.
Fuming ears is apparently what it's called. Some sparks, some will. Samadhi wind agate. Can be used to craft weapons. Silk, leaves, sand. Okay.
No wind wrought such destruction here. The Samadhi wind brought only malice here. Vajras and Arhats before the yellow wind shivered. Mounts of bodhisattvas, a lion scion and an elephant white, in fear quivered. A wicked Yaoguai of fierce might followed a discerning master. It was his blessing, but also became his curse.
There's a conclusion to the animation within 3 chapters.
On a white deer or a green bull, the celestial courtiers mount. On a cyan lion or a white elephant, the bodhisattvas ride. This great beetle, too, could be someone's mount.
Okay. And then there's just a random Squidward in the frame.
They say Yaoguais prey on men, yet men prey on men too, only more ruthlessly. A fair trade in that tiny well? How does it differ from the trades out in the world?
Ah. Weird egg thing. There's nothing wrong with the Squidward. It's just a little bit funny seeing the Squidward.
Spared him, punished him, avoided him, eluded him. Master's grace taught, disciples' plot sought. His golden long staff meant nothing once mortal compassions took root. Bodhisattvas too could fall in this way.
Alright, so there was a giant fucking wind blowing, and Wukong was able to avoid that. And then here is the, that was the tapestry we had previously. And this is the one we have now. Alright, let's proceed to the next one. One of those little hidden things, but there's a conclusion to that animation within Chapter 3. Okay. Well, the thing is, as well, is that, like, Chapter 1 was a 2D? That one didn't involve a fox, as far as I knew. That involved a wolf, I believe? And then the monk Well, no, it was a bear, and the monk was, like, very materialistic. Hi there, Ginger Fox. Welcome to the stream. We're now at chapter 3. And there's just this random child on this, like, thing. What is up with your ears? Oh. Yaogwai, number of women. More Yaogwai and men. Where's the destined one? Where is the Sun Wukong clone? Oh. Okay. Just a funny little child, aren't you? Oh. Alright, right at the get-go. You're in a fight. Damn, you have a lot of health, and you're a lesser Yaogwai? Jesus. Alright, no way out that way. A lot of fucking God rays this way. Well, I guess we're following the light. Also, wait, what happened? Where's the child? There they are. Yo. You good? You good, kid? Well, I can't talk to you for whatever reason, but... I'm doing alright, Ginger Fox. I just got done with Chapter 2. I had a little bit of help from Dazarus on the exploring front because I was kind of close, but not close enough on some stuff. And now, here I am. I saw what you were doing there. Hey, or find iron sand from the chest again. Alright, we'll be able to make the cool thingamadiggies. Nope, not that way. Cool. Alright, once again, we are following the fire. We're following light and fire. Oh, look at that! We're in the snow! Oh. Nice try, weird Oni thing. There we go. The Snow Hill Path. Okay. Gentian. Alright, we'll place an offering. Just a little offering. Just a fun little offering here. Hey, and we can craft new weapons. So... 66 damage with a 7% critical hit chance. The fourth move of light attack combo and mobile staff spin can stir up a whirlwind of sand. Increases its damage range and what's-mahoozies. Yeah, okay. Alright, so I need will for most of these things. Looks like I got the long weave thing. Thundertail, Thunderbone. This is the Rat Sage. And that one doesn't have much to it. Oak Tree Battle Robe. Decoy and duplicates are cloaked in yellow wind, granting them considerable damage reduction. Ooh. Okay. Upon consuming a focus point, moderately increases critical hit chance for a short duration. Looks like we're gonna need this for some chill resistance. Because I imagine these things are gonna help us in the area. And then... there we go. Allow Gorgies while sprinting. Alright. Alright, up that way. Alrighty then. A lot of people frozen in the sand, or frozen in the snow, it seems. That's a lot of people. Monkey? Oh, bad monkey. Bad monkey. Alright, do not stand near them just after they die. Well, that monkey earlier was rude. Grant is streaming on a Monday. It's a public holiday there or something? No. So, I feel like I've explained this a few times now. Like, historically speaking. That I work in an office where they are sort of experimenting with 4-day work weeks once in a while. And so, this was that week with the 4-day work week. So whenever those pop up, I normally try and, you know, do a stream in the morning instead. And this is also one of the first mornings where, rather than going, you know, relatively late into the, rather than going, like, relatively late into the morning, like 10 a.m., I've actually gone for a 9 a.m. start, so something, like, relatively reasonable in terms of, like, my time and, you know, Australia time. And I feel like the 9 a.m. is a good time. There we go. Don't have to worry about you. Oh, there's the monkey again. The Macquarie Chief. disappeared. That wasn't a defeat. That was a You think you're funny? Fuck you, monkey. Anything I missed? No.
Macaque.
Macaque. What is a macaque? Because it looks like a monkey. The fuck is a macaque? They're an Asian species of monkey, usually East and Southeast Asia. So, Vietnam, Indonesia. Noted. Can I head up here? Hey, I can. Neat. What's over here? Bat. We already dealt with one or two of those bats. Hey, more cold leaves. Those will be helpful. Making our way downtown. Walking. Oh, more bats. I don't trust any of these. Oh. Dick. Oh, hey, something went to absorb. There we go. Thank you. There's the Buddha again. Absolutely eviscerated there. Just give me it. Ah, damn it. I didn't get, like, immunity frames when he did the headbutt like that. That's a shame. Ugh. Stretching! Oh, excuse me. Stretch. Stretch, 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 stretch. Oh, right. Alrighty. Oh. So I can reignite some of my spark. When stamina is depleted, a weaker, lighter attack finisher can still be formed. Increases the critical hit chance. So this can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6% increase. Bane mitigation, health, stamina. Reduces the cost of dodging. Increases health recovery when health is low. Increases focus gain from perfect dodges. Leave an illusion which explodes instantly, dealing damage to nearby foes. Sure, let's go with that one. I wonder if there's a level cap. Because at appropriate times, duplicates can use Immobilize, Ring of Fire, and Rock Solid. Interesting. Slightly increases the damage dealt by duplicates when using another spell after a pluck of many. So yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Interesting. Okay. So 11 points to fully upgrade that spell. Alright, let's... I am gonna go and call the stream... I'm gonna call the stream here, because I've been at this for like about 3 hours now. It's hitting lunchtime. I need to have a think about lunch and try and have something that isn't just like copious amounts of like meat and cheese, because I think cheese, like, I need to like double check what the cheese is doing to me. And the faintest slightly extends invisibility duration of the first move of all varied combos. Narrows the window of the rock solid deflection but returns half of the mana upon deflection. Temporarily increases attack after a perfect dodge. I like that one. And then considerably increases focus gain against consecutive thingies. Upon a successful hit with the Unveiling Strike, the cooldown of the spell is massively reduced. Considerably increases the critical hit damage. Sounds cool. Alright, yeah. I am gonna end the stream here, but before we go, we're gonna have a look and see who is online and who it is that we can go and raid. Let's have a look. Also, I do realize that my thingy-majiggy, like, flashes invisible before reappearing again. It's not a perfect audio ducking in the OBS, but I don't want to run an additional program to do the PNG tuber. I'd much rather have it set within OBS to do that. But otherwise, let's have a look and see who is online and who we can go and raid. We could go for someone in a similar game to me. Oh, look at that! Solo is playing the Dark Knight. Let's go right into Solo. They're a PNG tuber with Booba. You'll appreciate them. Yep. Let's do this. Let's go with them. Alrighty then. That will be it for today. I will be streaming again Wednesday. We'll be going back into Space Marine 2. But otherwise, I want to say thank you everyone who came along to this morning's stream. I greatly appreciate it. I hope the hour earlier time was suitable for the Australian and the American viewers. I hope you all have a wonderful day. But otherwise, I hopefully will see you Wednesday, or I'll see you next time. Bye for now.